just start from the basics, from the fundamentals of the concept. Do not try to just jump into the concept just because it looks cool. That's the point of today's video. About me, I'm Pratik and I got a 97% in my 10th board exams. I went from an average student to the top of my entire grade without any coaching, tuition or reference books, and I'll tell you how to do the same. So let's start the video. So what I see is that many people just think of something as cool or maybe something as important and just directly jump into the concept without even knowing what has preceded it or what was behind it. For example, people literally start trigonometry without even understanding what basic algebra is. They wouldn't know what rationalization is or what multiplying and dividing is, like in full algebraic sense, but they would jump into trigonometry just because sine and cosine looks cool. You know, this is a real story that there was one friend of mine, like we were good friends and everything. Now, one day he asked me, "Can you teach me chemistry and everything?" I was like, "Sure, like we can try, of course." Then I started teaching him, and that motherfucker did not even know a single basic thing. Like I asked, "Do you know the conservation of mass?" Okay, just a definition that matter cannot be created or destroyed in the chemical reaction, of course. But then I asked him, what does it actually mean? Then he was like, okay, the mass is this, it is constant, matter is this. Like, of course, the wrong definition or the wrong explanation. Then I asked him, like, cut out the definition. Do not think of definition at all, leave it aside for a bit. Just tell me what it actually means. What does it even what do you even consider this line to be? If you are learning in an English medium school, if you know basic English and you're learning a line or a sentence in English, then shouldn't you know its meaning? Like, you are just learning some words without even understanding the meaning. What's the point behind it? And then he started saying, oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, mass is constant when they both combine, then we can get the third mass or whatever. Like, he was just blurting out random nonsense without even understanding what he was saying. Then we went to another concept, which was unit factor method. Basically, let's say you have 100 centimeter is equal to 1 meter. So 1 meter by 100 centimeter is equal to 1. So when you have to convert from centimeter to meter, you multiply it by the unit factor, which is 1 meter by 100 centimeter, right? I first taught him the method, then asked him to read in the book. Then I asked him, okay, now you know the unit factor method, you know exactly why it works. Like I told him the fundamentals and basics exactly. Like cut these in centimeters and like of course the units would cut. Then you'd have only the meter unit remaining. Then you multiply with actual numbers and you get the answer. But that motherfucker could not even do that. Like I told him, convert from centimeter to inch. Then he would have inch in the denominator, which of course for some people who don't know, like that does not work. So I asked him, how would you get inch square per centimeter? And he had no answer. Like the point is, modern education is literally people just doing random shit without knowing what it actually is. But if you don't even know what your education or what the teachings or what the thoughts that you get actually mean, then what's the point of that education? Let's say algebra. X plus y into x minus y is equal to x square minus y square. That's the basic identity. But if you ask 90% of students, even math students, they don't know why exactly is it true. They just say, okay, this is true. But why? No one knows. Then, let's say x square plus y square. Like x plus y whole square is x square plus y square plus 2xy, right? Now, you ask anyone in your class, if your class is like advanced enough to learn this concept, and I'm sure most people, even with maths, would not know the concept. Like, what is behind it that makes it true? For example, in concepts like chemistry or quantum mechanics, let's say, students just learn things without actually understanding what it means. If you are reading a line, then shouldn't you actually understand what is it trying to say to you? What is it conveying? A line has no meaning on its own if it doesn't convey a thought or a meaningful response, right? Let's say Max Planck solved the UV catastrophe in around 1900s. Now, These motherfuckers would not know who Max Planck was, what UV catastrophe was, why was it in 1900s, what was the point behind it, why was it so important. They would just learn the line like it's basic history, and then when they get a question in exam like what is UV catastrophe, no one knows. Why? Because they just learned a concept. They just thought that okay, if I learn this, then of course I would get it. But no, that's not how it works, right? So that's my point. Instead of learning definitions and just trying to like comprehend them without even understanding what they mean, just trying to write them again and again so that you remember. Try to understand it from the basics. The foundational concepts or the fundamentals are the real things or the real working engines behind these definitions. You know, you take any definition from any part of any subject and it will be rooted in a fundamental basic axiom. Of course, that's Gödel's incompleteness, right? So that's my point. Let's say integration. People just say, okay, you integrate, then you add a power, then you divide by the power, and you are done. But why? Like, when my teacher was teaching this stuff, I was so shocked. Like, of course, I had already learned integration by that point, but I was so shocked that no one was questioning this. Why is it true? And then, when some people actually started to question, like, what is actual integration? Of course, because in physics you do not get taught what integration is, but it's the formula, you apply it and done. When some people actually started to question, the teacher just said, no, you just do this. I don't care what you think or whatever. That is your teacher. That's the job of your maths teacher. You just do this. That's why the education system is in fault for this thing. They literally built a system which is just for memorizing stuff instead of understanding the actual consequences, the actual impacts that any action in history, in geography, or any reaction or anything. Instead of actually teaching those things, what they do, they just give a definition, tell you to learn it, and the student who can learn it the best gets the highest marks. Of course, that would basically be saying that I learned the definition because I got the highest marks, of course. But that's a separate point because I, of course, had to do this because I wanted highest marks. But still, this system is not good, right? So that's why you gotta understand that even if the system asks you to just learn this setup, just learn this information without understanding where it came from, without actually realizing the impact or the actual implications that it have, just understand it, just learn it, and done. That's the whole point. So, what I want to say is that you have to beat the system while being in the system, right? Right? Instead of like just going complete rage mode, like, no, I'll never learn a subject again, I'll just study it and understand the whole basics and everything. Instead of doing that, or instead of just being a robot, like learning 24/7, instead of that, go in the middle way. Be good enough that you get average or good grades, but not be so good that you become a robot. So my point is that you should learn yourself, not just for school, not just for stuff like that, but for yourself, for your own knowledge, just for fun. For example, let me give you an example. I yesterday learned about Alexander, Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, like all these are connected figures throughout history, right? Just because I was bored. I had nothing to do. I was being bored AF. So I thought, why not just do this? I started reading information on them, asked ChatGPT questions, asking doubts to like different people. Then slowly I understood what they actually were, who they actually were, what their actual impacts were. Right? So no one is actually stopping you from getting knowledge. Your phone or your computer is literally the best source or the only source which can provide you knowledge about anything or everything. But also it can ruin your brain by of course Instagram and all, or maybe like cause you some side effects like playing games or some shit. So it depends on you how you use it. But remember one point, if you do not even know the foundation, then how can you even complete the setup, right? Let's say you're learning algebra and you don't even know how to multiply. How will you do it? Like, what will actually you do? you'll just sit there not even understanding what plus or minus mean, what multiplication means, right? That's the problem, and that's what many people are doing. Like, let me tell you one more incident. So we have a chapter about quantum mechanics. I was asking doubts about that. Then there was this one dude who came to me and said that you shouldn't ask doubts about this chapter because in the entrance exam we have, like in India we have JEE, the entrance exam we have will only be numerical. And I was like, what the actual fuck? Like, do you have room temperature, below room temperature IQ? Of course, in Celsius. Like, what do you even mean by do not ask doubts like this just because they are not good for your entrance or whatever? Like, what do you even mean? The doubts or the theory itself is the point of numericals. Numericals are nothing on their own. Of course, no one will ask you what joule or like converting into joule or kilogram or whatever if there is no concept about that. If there is a concept, that's why there are numericals. So many people, like of course students, make this mistake that they, instead of learning the actual theory or learning the actual stuff, knowing why things work, they just do the stuff. They start doing numericals, they start learning formulas. Like literally, there are people who literally learn math questions. They learn questions with numbers and everything, so that if the same question appears in exam, then they can just copy paste the answer. Like, if you can understand the mechanics behind it, then everything would be simple. For example, we have a chapter about vectors and everything, right? So first of all, I started the chapter one day and thought, what the actual fuck? I did not understood a single thing. Right? So the next day, I completed the whole linear algebra thing, which was of the next grade, just so that I could understand this vector concept. That's the point. Like, if you do not even know the working behind it, how can you even complete the setup? Right? That's what my point is, and that's what I'm repeatedly saying in this video. First, complete the foundations, complete the basics, because if you don't know the basics, you'll just become a robot who will be learning stuff, then writing that in the exam, then forgetting it. Second, learn things on your own. Try to learn things, try to make things, right? Try to understand more information. Then, do not become those corporate robots or those robots that school try to make, that you literally learn information, then write it, then forget, and you get high grades. Remember that. Now, if you want more videos like this and more information like this, like how do you actually study, what are the memorization techniques, how do you actually like do discipline, how do you practice discipline, memorization and everything, if you want things like that, then I highly recommend you to join my program. It's literally $5. Like, how much is $5? And you can get it for $5, or the Indian equivalent of it, of course. And you will literally get a memorization technique video in which I literally tell the memorization technique that got me 97%. Then a video about discipline and motivation, a video about how do you actually create a timetable for exams, then a PDF of 15 pages of how do you create a timetable or a to-do list for your, like, for general studying, for completing the 3 sessions, and that's the 3 sessions principle, right? Like, very important course. I highly recommend it to you if you want to like learn more and become better in life and in studying especially. You should you should join it. I cannot emphasize enough how good is it. Like, you will literally get so much of a boost in your grades, maybe in even 70% to 95%. That's what I'm saying, right? So there are 2 links in the description. One is for international buyers who can pay $5, and this $5 offer is for the first 5 people. After that, the prices would increase. Or you can take the Indian link, like it's for UPI payments, but it's for like Indian users, of course. So international buyers can use the Gumroad link, while Indian users can use the UPI link, right? Now, I'll see you in the program. You can watch my previous videos if you want more information, but I highly recommend to join the program because it's one of the best, right? I'll see you in the next video. Till then, work like a dog, live like a lion.